is here. That's why he had not been on for a while.
Wow,
So
okay.
he passed last week on the 8th.
Hmm.
We're in recording mode. Let me
I didn't know that.
go through the
Yeah.
process. Yeah. Emma called me and told me.
America's
Uh,
urban hero.
yeah, he's gonna be really missed. Kids loved him.
Yeah.
So his first costume, because Faye had worked with him some years ago, his first costume, it had like fake muscles in it. But the muscles were too big for so it looked really ridiculous. And the costume wasn't as it wasn't as well made. So he spent some serious coin on the costume he had.
Yeah, he's a very nice man.
Too bad we don't have any archive place for that costume to be, you know, his little story and his footage and that
Yeah.
costume to be displayed.
He did a lot of work with LAUSD, so maybe they could find a place.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I get it on Facebook, there are some little archivy of museums that I found out.
Yep.
Okay, here's a
Our guest has
code.
arrived here.
Good. You guys want to, why I do
There he is.
get me into.
My cousin. What's up, cousin Snead?
You don't even know.
we not
Okay.
we not on we're not live on Facebook yet, are we?
Not
No.
yet. I'm waiting. I'm trying to get us through the meta security
Metaverse.
system.
I have other Sneeds that I know that EAD, and I always tease them that their family couldn't spell.
Possibly. Actually. All right, let's go. What you doing? Ours was Kennard, and it spelled all kinds of. It wasn't the family; it was the census takers. All righty,
We do give you permission to come off mute there, Mr. Sneed.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, good. Just do a
There's a big
microphone
old
check.
there.
Yeah, microphone check. 1 2 1 2.
There you go.
He's a pro at this.
Yeah.
All righty, let me get us over to the right page, and we should be in. Jesus. All right, come on, let us in. Go ahead, Greg, and I'll get us over here.
All right. So you're still working on the
I'll get us
Facebook, right?
to Facebook. Yeah, you just go ahead with us opening up on Zoom.
Fantastic.
We don't see your face, right, Crystal?
Oh,
You're not live.
oh, all right. Here I am.
There you go.
Can I start now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Good morning. Welcome to the community briefing. My name is Gregory Snead. Today is the 15th of January and the real birthday of Dr. King, January 15. And shout out to the AKAs. Happy Founders Days to the Sisters of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority.
That's right, baby.
Go ahead. Do it, Robin. No, the skiwi. Come on, do a skiwi. Yeah, there you go.
Wasn't the Deltas last week or something?
A couple days ago,
Why you bringing them up?
I'm
Bring
sorry.
that up.
Yeah, they're all in a row. They're all in a row, except for the alphas who were in December. So, thank you for joining us. My name is Gregory Snead, President and CEO of Lifesaver Financial Services. And today we have a wonderful guest we're going to be introducing very shortly. So thank you for checking us out. And now it's my pleasure to bring to the virtual stage the 2026 queen of the community briefing. And man, she's all gussied up today, boy. She's get made up and played up, and let's go. So, Miss Crystal Mitchell.
Hey, everyone. It's the beginning of the year. We'll go back to regular soon, and it's just shortly. Welcome to the community briefing. Glad to have you all here. We made it through 2025. Now we're gonna pace ourselves through 2026. And happy birthday to Martin Luther King. He must be rolling over in his little grave right about now with all the nonsense going on here in America. The community briefing is a result of another pandemic craziness when that other man was in the office. When that man that's in the office was in the office before, it was for the purpose of making sure that we had a central place to go during the pandemic so that we could get information. And so I think it's vitally important, as you guys can see within the media, regular media outlets do not tell you anything. They tell you what they want you to know, and hopefully that you don't question them. But we have to have independent media in order to find out what's really going on. And so that's the purpose of the community briefing, to introduce you to those that are making things happen in our city for us as Black people, people of color, the minority, I guess, minority majority in this country. So that's that's why we're here. And so we want to make this a stellar year. We want you guys to go out and tell all your friends to come and be here every Thursday at 11 a.m. Today we have a fantastic guest. Our program is supported and sponsored by Recycling Black Dollars, supported by the BBA, the Black Business Association, as well as monetarily sponsored by Southern California Edison, Northrop, LDC, Los Angeles, Urban Excellence, SoCal Gas, PCR, and Wells Fargo Bank. And so anyone interested in donating to the cause to keep us moving forward, we are so welcome to your donation. You can go to our website, the community briefing, and I believe there's a button there, or call Stephen. He can make sure that happens. Our team is amazing. You've already met Mr. Gregory Snead with the E, and and myself, and Mr. Stephen Turner. He's the producer of the show, so he goes out and makes all this stuff, brings all you wonderful guests to us. And then the female energy here is Ms. Robin. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to her so she can introduce herself. Welcome to the community briefing. I hope this will be your home and in the future, if you're new. And
greetings, everybody. Glad to be here. Robin Billups with the Billups Group. My thing this week, matter of fact, my thing for the next year literally is we have reached a 3% population that's out there protesting. If we reach 3%, that really impacts what happens in our marketplaces. So what can you do? Write your congressperson, just what's my word?
Become the squeaky wheel that gets
become the squeaky
done.
wheel, but more importantly, inundate. That's my word. Yeah. Inundate these politicos, because those people are there to serve us. So if you don't do anything else, just make a phone call, send an email, send a text, be on your Facebook, Instagram, social media. Let these folks know you're not pleased. You're not satisfied. They're not being held accountable. We have to do that, you guys, because again, the population and the community can make a difference if we work collectively together. I'm stumbling all over my words. But I just want to say that Rachel Maddow validates every day who's protesting across America. And it is happening in some of the smallest little towns. It's a lot of the red states. So the blue states just have to hold firm, and we have to help everybody else get the word out. Again, I'm looking forward to our guest today, and thank you. Vote.
And this is midterms, so voting is imperative. In March, I think it's March, we vote, right? And so we want to make sure we do like we did for Prop 50. I heard that they're going to uphold Prop 50 for this midterm, so it's going to be very important that we speak up. And Robin, there were 7 million people protesting yesterday.
Yes.
And they shot 2 more people yesterday It's getting a little outrageous. We got to speak up. We don't need to be out in the streets, Black folks. We got to do our
Yeah.
stuff behind the scenes. All right. With that, kick that back over to Greg.
As my friend would say, put the pencil to him. That's all you had to do.
Put the pencil
to him.
and the voice.
Okay, good. So, I guess, I was just waiting to make sure y'all finish. Where did our guest go? Oh, there he is. All right.
Yeah.
Our guest today is Dedren Snead, and no relation. There is a spelling difference. He is a globally recognized computer scientist, policymaker, multi-hyphenated artist, and Afrofuturist technology leader. He was named one of UNESCO's top 100 AI innovators for Charge, and he was also a White House AI consultant, U.S. Africa Department of State, innovator in residence, and sought after Ford Foundation Global Fellow in Artificial Intelligence. He pioneers an educational gaming platforms, AI-driven solutions that bridge digital divides. He has education from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and also global studies in economics and marketing, and a Bachelor of Art in Asian Studies. He also went to the Kanda University of International Studies in Japanese language, and also Peking University with a certificate program in business management. He's done a number of things in the in business. He was with Apple as a senior tech support, Time Warner as a corporate sales trainer, Lexus as a sales marketing manager, Genesis as a sales manager, Skillshot Media, and now he is chief executive officer of SUBSUME, which is an Atlanta-based global design and innovation studio using Afrofuturism and future technologies to build the stories of tomorrow. So we have no idea where he was born and raised. He's going to share that with us momentarily. I do see the box, so please join me in welcoming to the virtual stage Mr. Dedren Snead.
There, Dedren, he was there, and then somebody else came in, or he came back in. So I don't know what happened. Anyway, while we're waiting for him to come on, that's amazing, amazing, amazing. For those of you that remember, and we were just talking about this before the show started, Roger Tinsley, which is Dangerfield, our superhero in our community, passed on January 7th. So prayers and condolences to his family. I believe his daughter is, you can reach out to her. Her name is Veronica, right, Greg? Veronica? Yeah. And if you want to send any condolences directly. Okay, now what happened to our guy? Hey, Joseph. Okay, you want to call him Stephen? He was there. He was smiling at us.
Yeah, he said he's trying to log back in.
Okay.
Okay.
While he's logging back in, I just want to acknowledge Bianca Becky celebrating an anniversary, wasn't it?
Get off of mute.
Sorry. Yes. So this month we're celebrating our 20th anniversary.
20 years.
And being in business.
Awesome.
We started right out of junior high school.
I was 5 when I started it.
Such a prodigy. Saw the beautiful picture of your staff, your team.
Yeah, that was a very good photo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So while we're waiting for Dedren,
it gets harder and harder every year. You know, first we got COVID, then we've got this administration. It's like pivoting. We need to get an award on pivoting.
But you didn't expect it to be easy, right?
Oh, or maybe Dedren can tell us how we can have our own alter universe that's going simultaneously in its own little parallel of this country. Hey, Dedren.
All right, he's back. So part 2, take 2. Please join me in welcoming to the virtual stage, Dedren Snead.
pleasure. Hope everyone's well. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
That's fine. Thank you so very much. I appreciate the consideration. And, I know that I'm in the midst of a great introduction and conversation in regards to not only the history that we're seeing, but the futures that we're building right now. We want to appreciate and acknowledge not only this space, but of course, acknowledge the birthday of not just a Black legacy, but a human legacy in Dr. Reverend Martin King Jr., and just really appreciate this time and consideration. So for those that I've not had the privilege of meeting just yet, yes, my name is Dedren Snead, and I'm based here in Atlanta, Georgia, computer scientist and artist with the Ford Foundation. I work in gaming and artificial intelligence, but really working in the space of Afrofuturism. Really, how do we take Black resilience narratives and really use them as a design tool to connect and cultivate not only a great present, but also a future where we all can exist as we want to be. And so it's just a privilege to be here with you all. And I'm sure I get a chance in my southern meandering way to talk about how do we see ourselves in the future. And of course, that's built on a true understanding and appreciation of our past, being able to empower and encourage our present. And yes, look forward for the future from there.
Okay, sorry about that.
No, no worries, no worries. So please let me know. I'd love to. I can definitely speak to a couple of points. Or shall we have this more of a conversational? How can we best have our conversation today?
So it's your show, your dime. But I just dropped in the chat. I just looked it up real quick to find at least AI's version and definition of what Afrofuturism is. So if you could enlighten us as to your version of it, take a look and see what it was done. Look like it was coined by somebody named by Mark Derry in 1994, 32 years ago. So what is Afrofuturism and what does that mean to you and how are you advancing it?
Well, thank you so very much. Of course, I would concur, with our AI analysis that Mark Derry is the person from working not only in science fiction, but particularly in inclusive and Black science fiction, in those spaces to coin the idea and premise of Afrofuturism. I think there's a academic definition for sure, but I think just to speak personally to me of what does that mean? I think it really means the space where we as the Black and African diaspora of talent and is able to leverage our stories, leverage our culture, our differences, our similarities, and really our lived and historic experiences, and be able to create the spaces that make us resistant, resilient, and really able to bring joy and thriving. So I think a great example of that, of course, would be Black Panther. And we can be academic about whether or not that's really a Black story or an African story, but the narrative of a Black fantastic group of people, a country, a nation, unconquered in Africa, that was light years ahead of the rest of the world. And were able to do miraculous things as everyday practice. I think that correlates a lot to the stories across the diaspora, from Africa, from Latin America, into the Caribbean, and here within the U.S., North America, where we see the thriving, particularly in systems that are built to not include us, is really that narrative of Afrofuturism. And it just makes a space that we can all agree that Black people not only will exist in the future, but will thrive in the future. And so really this is the space that our ancestors, particularly those that were brought here into the U.S. in bondage, are the progenitors of such Afrofuturism, right? In a system by which their own works and their own narratives and their own histories and really their lives were not under their own control. And the miraculous things they did on a daily basis didn't immediately impact them, but it made a space for a future for their generations that could be and could become even more so. And so in that space of Afrofuturism, I think that's where our work with SUBSUME is most grounded, is that we're working on, we're definitely standing on the shoulders of greatness, and within current graces, like the present company included, that we can see Afrofuturism as a design tool for liberation.
Greg, you're on mute.
Yeah, I had some background noise that was going on and had to. So, the ultimate would be that we have a Afrofuturism holiday down the road or something that's attributed to it, or a week. So tell us about the journey of that. How you got started. Tell us a little bit about Mark Derry, and because that was, that was a vision, and it was visionary at the time, and then now, certainly at that stage, we had technology, obviously, but we're rapidly going through technology, and we're also rapidly expanding in art forms. So, those two run parallel, and they also diverge in separate paths.
Oh, absolutely. So if we're looking at the space of Afrofuturism and technology, particularly contemporary technology per se, like for art, of course, artificial intelligence is something that's very prescient in everyone's daily conversations right now. The idea of Afrofuturism and imagining futures is really the same component for where we are bridging this thing with artificial intelligence, is that we're imagining that these systems can help liberate us from mundane tasks, are able to empower one person to be able to do the power of 10, and really give us the chance and restore ideally a space that we all can work through and work from. But if we look at it from the space of Afrofuturism, this story is design. And at the end of the day, from an analytical standpoint, it's data. It's where we are included, but even more so where we're excluded. That is part of that conversation. And so what does that mean? That means that the same systems of science fiction that have excluded Black stories, particularly around science fiction and fantasy. We will see the same parallel with artificial systems that have excluded Black people from financial systems, from banking systems, from academic systems, and from conversations of music and media, particularly accomplishments, particularly control. So we're building these systems that are exclusive of a demographic, and therefore cannot be in some inclusive, because again, we're not part of that data set. So Afrofuturism arose with Mr. Derry, and even we have amazing contemporary folks like Cherie Renee Thomas. Speaking of the holiday, I'm sure we'll talk to it, like N.K. Jemisin, a brilliant writer, whose book, Now How Long Till Black Future Month, was part of the premise of us now celebrating Black Futures Month as a reframing of Black History Month for 2026. And so not seeing yourself being a part of that design narrative, both in Afrofuturism and in artificial intelligence, is part of our work with SUBSUME, is that we're teaching the young people and the young at heart that their stories and their narratives matter, because we're building systems that are dependent on those stories, that are dependent on that data. So if we're not included in those conversations, just like we're not included in our own stories, our own storytelling, and really controlling the images, the narratives, and how they're used, then we're going to be at a disadvantage in the future. And I would think, of course, speaking on Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday, right? Looking at artificial intelligence, there was a particular system called Sora that, when it released, was able to make digital images. And one of the first, we would say, infractions of that program was people taking the likeness of Dr. King and having him do extremely disrespectful and inhumane things. And so this is one of the rare times that the company, which is OpenAI, came in and created a system by which you could not use that image in that way, right? So that's a rarity that's in that space. But it took Dr. King's family reaching out in outrage to say, this works in counterance to the legacy of our father and to the civil rights movement. And so that's a good intersection of technology and futurism, particularly Black futurism, that we have to be able to build and create our own systems. So those types of safeguards are inherently built in. But as what we're saying here, that system was not included because the people that could be affected by that system in this way may not have been included. So that's a good real world example of how we're seeing the need for inclusive design, particularly around Afrofuturism, around Black stories, Black IP, and Black businesses to be able to work and navigate in this space with agency.
How does that interface with our children? I see you've done some work both in the K-12 and the HBCU arena. Are we keeping pace in terms of technology and AI? there's a second question, but I'll get to that later. So let's just talk about the impact with K-12 and HBCU.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. We absolutely are bullish on all young people, particularly young Black genius. And so for our space called Future Bridge, we're looking at literally building them as the future. It's a bridge to an inclusive and sustainable future, not only in arts and media, but also in technology and environmentalism, civics and social justice, but also in humanity. And so we do work with a lot of K through 12 and that pipeline from middle to high school into HBCUs and into technical and creative careers as entrepreneurs. So we see that the digital divide that's been by design in some cases, but really just a big opportunity in our underestimated communities. Uh, Anything that leans into access, such as artificial intelligence, high-speed internet, we're seeing that same digital redlining that we see in our communities that we would see from a banking standpoint. Those maps match up. And so not being able to have access to those, not being able to have access to those devices, those services, really that connection within our school systems, that's a disadvantage. What is the great advantage is that a lot of these traditional still are new. So we're still in a great space where we can still even the odds by getting our young people certified in programs, by having them be a part of what they want to be a part of, and also encouraging them to be builders, not just consumers of artificial intelligence, design, and these technologies. And so it's easier than it's ever been to be able to be a part of this new generation of change. But what we're seeing is that when you don't have it, that is so much more of a gap to overcome than ever before. And so our young people are digitally native, right? They all know how to use their phones. They all know how to create social media. This is like their narrative. But at the same time, do they have the access to the tools, to resources, and the training to be able to leverage that in a way that benefits them? We can benefit the larger system, but we need those benefits to stay within our communities, within our culture, and within our financial ecosystems. And so that's where we're very driven to make sure that the young people understand this, but also that the parents, stakeholders, and families understand this as well. Because what we also see is that we have our children that are interested in this technology, but because there may not be that same training or access among our elders, among our parents, among our congregations, that the technology is something we need to take away. If there was ever a time to lean into technology for our young people to be able to even that score, this is where we're asking parents. This is where your kids need that screen time. Obviously, there's good and bad screen time, but there's a time where leveraging those skills, not only just coding, but in creating and being able to understand how the soft skills and technologies work, such as artificial intelligence, but the traditional skills like robotics is really going to be the next trade, right? Where we're thinking that these robots are taking your jobs, someone's still gonna have to fix those robots.
Creating new ones, yeah.
Exactly. We're gonna have to still install new electrical systems. They're gonna be new architectural design because we're gonna have robots that can work for 24 hours. So now things that we're not able to do now, we're gonna need new architects to be able to build with new tools. So the idea that it's only computer science, it's only data science, are great prerequisites and skills to have. But now we just need to be training our young people in that all of these systems that before were almost insurmountable are at least scalable with the right training and right support.
So, so is AI not computer science? Because we make it, it's positioned in a way that it's something different. That it's actually what they call intelligence, because we've had computer processing for a little over half a century. So what really is that?
That's a great question. I think it will say perspective, but to answer your question, it is not computer science in and of itself, right? Because we have programs and systems that have leveraged artificial intelligence for decades, right? Like you say, I think it's the wrap service of how we see it from a consumerism standpoint. that artificial intelligence or agentic services, or basically to say that the system interacts with us in a space that it seems human, that we're using more spoken word, more spoken languages, easier interfaces that before you didn't have to code, you didn't have to know the back end development, but you're getting those same results, or at least some snapshot of such. And so artificial intelligence in that space really is the more communicative understanding of how computer science, technology, and really the Internet of Things are now able to scale to us as humans in a way from our human language to be able to control, develop, and articulate what the results are. So it feels like that we are talking to the computers. And in a sense, we are. But what it is still on the back end is still the same services that we've used and utilized before. What we've been able to do, though, with between cloud computing, between processing, between the access of Internet of Things, that we now have this architecture that's able to move exponentially better than we've ever had it before. And so it's not that it's some fantasy, it is reality. Artificial intelligence works in that same context. It's just it's able to pull these systems together, like in OpenAI, ChatGPT, or Claude, or Rufus with Amazon. Where they're able to be branded as a consumer deliverable in a way that before was only available at IBM, was only available at behind the wall at Microsoft. Now, in this age, we're all part of that grand experiment. The idea of reaching true agentic AGI, where the computer just runs all by itself, we're still a ways away. Now, that would be that next step of artificial intelligence where there's no human in the loop, but we are entrusting the system to build systems. Now, will we reach that? Whole nother conversation, whole nother show. But I think at least in the space of what artificial intelligence is, it is still a computer program system.
Yeah, just wait until your computer gives you attitude, right? Just
shut it off.
I came up with the term YBG. So is that a concept or is that an organization? Young Black Geniuses.
Young Black Geniuses, more of a concept, right? I think we've got some like the Black Genius Initiative and some other spaces that we're working on and working through with that. But I would say like the idea of Black genius, particularly where we see that in young Black communities, a lot of times may not have the true outlets in the arts and the technology to be able to really thrive. That's something that we are also looking at. How can we leverage AI? How can we leverage VR and some of these other emerging technologies to help connect and collaborate with that? So for us on the Future Bridge, we've had some programs that are around that, like the Black Genius Project, I think there's some other synonymous programs that exist out in the world as well. And so that idea of recognizing Black genius is really that we're pouring into our young people to let them know that, it's not just graduate high school, get a job, and work for 30 years in one singular place. Like, it does not exist. We can't teach them towards that world that we know is no longer going to be there, at least in that sense, for their career times. So we have to have them be able to think entrepreneurial of their own skills and talents, and what is the thing that they're in. What are they here in the world to dream up and make happen? And so to encourage that genius through technology to get them where they need to be, particularly as a community, that's where we see that Black genius thrive.
Yeah. I personally take the position that I'm smarter than or more intelligent than the computer. It may be able to process things, a larger volume of information at a time and more rapidly. But I refuse to believe that it's more intelligent and smarter than I am. So, Stephen has a question, and then Robin, over to you for the remainder of the Q&A. Good chat. I'll still be here, but just turn it over to my coworkers. So, or colleagues.
Professor Snead, I thank you ever so much. Our first introduction I said in your class, we talked about the meta universe, and you illustrated Mid-Journey and some other illustrations that you have in the back. Two things. Can you tell us about the graphic work that you've done and how AI is doing that? And secondly, I know that you are part of the Operation Hope with Van Jones in their new initiative, Operation Hope AI. And lastly, your event that you're going to have here in Los Angeles next month. No, that's kind of 3 points.
We'll make all the magic happen. So, let's see. I've got the Hope AI, Black Futures Month, and so speaking about Midjourney and thank you so very much. So the idea of art and AI, right? And so I'm thankful that for myself as an artist and that others that for our space in SUBSUME we work in a lot of traditional mediums like comics, games, and animation. And so we're very human first, right? The idea is like all of our art is human centric to start off with, like meaning that we as humans design, develop, and draw all of our original concepts. That allows it for us to take credit, it for us to own it. But what we want to do and what we do now is that we train our systems on art, particularly our art, because what we see is that the systems don't necessarily represent Black art and technology. If we're saying, for game assets, a lot of times you see the characters have the exact 2 or 3 same hairstyles. It's always an afro or always pigtails, and that's it. Like the diversity of our hair, of our skin tones, of our just complexity as an African people, a lot of times does not translate in those systems. You can't just go and quote unquote buy those assets, particularly in art, but we see those mediums being used all the time. So what we're looking at is that we're training these systems from an artistic standpoint to learn to appreciate Black art by Black artists. That way we're able to build our own infrastructure and systems. So when we're able to create art, that we're also able to train the system to help maybe animate something as a space in between to help us with like part of our development pipeline. That way we're still able to spend more time doing the traditional hand-drawn art that we love, know, and love. And so that system is part of something that ideally we'll be working on with Georgia Tech Arts in the future. But right now is a proprietary program we're working on and developing as we speak. But I thank you for being part of that class because we see these systems can generate Black art, beautiful Black art, but we also see very much again like the Dr. King incident where access to that art without control can still be an opportunity. And so for that, we're also looking at I think the next part being that um, we have a program that's coming up. No, I'll go to the thing with Van Jones and Operation Hope and Chairman John Hope Bryant has been an initiative that's been spawned out of a lot of great work within the Hope organizations that we're looking at AI and artificial intelligence being really a game changer in being able to create a space of digital dignity and understanding of how do we make sure that all of our communities have access to these trainings and workforce. It's very new. It was just recently announced. I think there's some announcements that maybe have my name coming up here shortly. So we'll see how that proceeds into the new year. But Hope AI is a component that's already been announced and looking at how we can embed training and workforce development for families in the spaces that are within that imprint. So we expect a lot more of that to come. For me, I'm very bullish on education. We have to train, we have to learn, we have to know. And so those are the components that I'm very passionate about for our work with SUBSUME. And I'm sure there'll be more to that to come. And then lastly, for the component of how long till Black Futures Month. And I was going to say, like, I normally have that book just to show. This is not my book, but it's still Dr. N.K. Jemison's How Long Till Black Future Month. So this was one of those that spawned a lot of conversation because, right, the idea is we have Black History Month and necessarily sort of so much unearthed Black history and living Black history among us that we need more than a month, to encompass. But for us at SUBSUME, we're working on a global program called Black Futures Month. The idea is that we are building the Black history of the future as we speak by gatherings like this, by our work and our support, by our deeper understanding and comprehension of the Black history all around us, but also that we have through technology, through culture, and through our stories, that we have a space to navigate authentically and sustainably in the future. And so what we're looking at is hosting a program in Los Angeles. That'll be a gathering of such. So we have the kickoff of Black History Month here in Atlanta, Georgia, and so that'll be the 5th through the 8th. But we will have a gathering that we're planning right now in Los Angeles, where we want to bring in Black technologists, bring in artists, businesses, and just have a gathering that we can continue to build this infrastructure change across the African diaspora. And so there'll be more details of that to come. Happy to share that as it goes. But people can find out about that. We're just launching the site tomorrow, but we'll give you the sneak peek is blackfuturesmonth.com. And so the idea is that we'll leverage this as part of that conversation for training, resources, and workforce development as we look to embolden the next generation of change makers.
Yeah. Well, turn it over to Robin, but just real quick, I'm thinking of Afrofuturism that perhaps Parliament Funkadelic were ahead of their time and defined.
That is it. You're astutely so. Those are the things. So we don't want to think of it only as technology and fantasy, but yes, Miles Davis, Sun Ra. There's so many of these spaces. Music and jazz and the mathematics of contemporary jazz is absolutely Afrofuturism. And so those are the spaces that we see again where Black brilliance on display, is building that ecosystem. And so those are spot on and absolutely. I would put Parliament Funkadelic right up there.
You just brought back so many memories right there, Greg. That was college. And then the other one that I would actually throw in there too is Maurice White. Maurice White, and he was that guy. He was that guy. Dr. Snead, we haven't heard where you grew up. We want to know where you grew up and how did you get involved in this? And two, I have 6 grandkids. A lot of us coach. Crystal has a program where she coaches the youth. So give us some tidbits that we can share with our younger folks and how they can stay plugged into what you're doing.
Oh, absolutely. So, where I grew up, by way of Virgin Islands, I grew up in rural eastern North Carolina. Grew up in a small town called Snow Hill, North Carolina, and military brat. But I grew up in the middle of a small pig farm. There were just not even 1,000 people in our city, let alone probably in our county. And so growing up in the 80s and growing up on a tobacco and pig farm, I just worked on a farm. There were no computers. It was literally a one stoplight town in the middle of, I say nowhere, North Carolina, and with love, meaning like we just had a very simple life. I'm sure and know in hindsight, our town probably didn't know segregation was over, right? It was a black side of town, the white side of town, one high school, one middle school, and we took a lot of our parents that had came out of integration. We were their kids, right? And so we knew the stories that everybody that had the same last names. We knew why, right? Because from an ancestral standpoint, our families didn't leave. They sharecropped the land, and that's what my folks did. They built churches and they worked on farms. And so that to say, for me, when I was growing up, there was only like one computer in the whole county, and I would walk after school every day to that computer at our local library and just use it till they kicked me out. And I started figuring out like if I was ever going to get out of Greene County and I much love for it, this was going to be my way. And so I literally back and forth. I would just work. And then when the computer broke, I learned how to fix it. And I was just the person that people knew could take things apart and put things together. Ended up going to North Carolina, Chapel Hill at some time thereafter. And ended up from there, likewise, seeing that the future of this stuff wasn't in North Carolina, but it was abroad. And so I sold my car and I made a one-way trip to Japan, and I learned Japanese, and then I went to China, worked in China, and just kept trying to chase where I knew that the next thing was going. And really, the idea was just that technology was going to ideally make it where language and a lot of these other parts were going to be accessible, right? Like you don't have to speak Chinese, but if you take something, you can use Google and it'll translate it. Before you had to hire a translator, and the technology that we could see was always in comics and games. It was imagined but not real. And that's what we teach our young people. Like, what's fantastic right now, all you got to do is just have a little bit more life and it's going to happen. Right. And so we've seen that technology jump over generations, but now with AI, back to it, it's making those types of jumps in weeks, not years, not
days. Yeah.
Right. And so every time we come up with something, by the time you learn it, it's something new. So the idea to tell young people is really not to worry so much about being the best technologist. You got to be the best conversationalist. You got to be the best human. You got to be the person that shows up on time. These are the parts that the computer can't do, right? The computer can process all types of mathematics, but can it explain it to somebody that's not good at it, right? That's where I say, like, there's going to be a huge transition of jobs in their lifetime and in ours, right? It's happening as we speak, but that's where I don't know how to translate what AI can do. And so I've very much to say for young people, we just have to have them stay creative and stay dreaming and really just stay optimistic because we're handing them this system, right? And the system's honestly going to do what they say it's going to do. That's what's beautiful, but also fearful about artificial intelligence. You can sit here and you can make an application to help people, manage their health benefits. Someone in sixth grade could do that. But likewise, a sixth grader could take that and make the most, make something that could be disparaging to another group of people, right? Make a whole movie, not just hey, I'm just going to say something aloud, but say something the world can see. So we'll try to teach kids that, that type of digital, is really that digital, we got to kind of keep on that digital dignity, right? You have to understand, for them, the internet kind of is forever, right? Like we were, I grew up in a generation where, your mistakes didn't follow you 20, 30, 40, 50 years, right? And now this is that part we have to teach young people.
Thank the Lord.
Right? Exactly. So the idea of being able to live a life outside of this system, we also try to encourage as well, right? That they still need to get the opportunity to grow up, to be able to fail forward, to be able to be human, right? Because those are the skills of the future, right? Coding is coding, all and computer science, all is still going to be necessary and very essential skills. But for young people, we just want them to be young people. So I try to encourage them. Like that's the part. As long as they are working towards their goal and building that skill knowledge, that's where they're going to get ahead.
So now, when you lived in Japan, what was that experience like?
Oh well,
and what time period was this?
Oh yes, so I graduated in North Carolina, Chapel Hill in 2012. So I was in China. So I was in Japan in 2009, and then China in 2011. And so when I went to Japan, it was part of a study abroad group. I was working in Durham. It was in Durham, North Carolina. I didn't live on campus because I had a family and I needed to work. So I would take the bus from Durham to the campus, be there for the 8 o'clock class. And by noon, I was busing back to go back to work. But that say, at that time, it was still not it was cell phones, of course. It was mobile phones, but it wasn't just easy accessible, hey Siri, internet, right? And so you still had to I still had to do all the traditional training and language to pass to go there. So I took like a year of Japanese in one summer trying to be able to qualify to go. And I'm sure by the grace of God, I made that pass and happen. And from there was able to not only attend a nice prestigious school there, but also understand that I was good at languages. But because other people didn't speak languages around me, and I was good at computer languages, I could just pick those things up. And so I kind of leaned into that at my time, and being able to then learn Chinese for a job opportunity to work in China. And then this is like 2008 was when China had the Olympics. So China was just really opening up to the world. And so at that point, I came in 2011, worked with a British company that supported other state government consulates. And so we had to sell in Chinese, but then also have English to go and talk with the English constituents. And so that, but learning that skill in Japan really was being able to understand culture that was not including me, but wasn't excluding me. Right? Exactly. It was very independent of who I was and where I wanted to be. And so it was a great reflection space, but also a great test to really what am I here to do? And so learning about and appreciating someone's culture authentically only just to learn and appreciate it did help me try to understand tools and systems by which I could try to share that same thing for the African American and ideally diasporic experience. So therefore I see like that global conversation and connection really something that's important. And so that global study of humanity at the end of the day just shows that like we're all one people.
Yeah.
And just how do we
humankind.
Exactly. So how do we use technology to get past all these other components that we're designing to then be one?
Excellent. We really go ahead, Crystal.
Wow, amazing. I've been big on not where you are. I am a closet geek though. When it comes to computers, I actually like to be able to solve problems with them. AI is an amazing tool, and I when people push back and say, well, it's going to do this and do this, we thought the same thing with computers, which has been here for decades, right? You know, we had to give up the typewriter, which was a blessing in this. It was a blessing, and now we have the computer. And when I actually started my business, that's what I was doing. As people were transitioning from, they could now afford home computers, desktops. And so, but they only knew how to use them based upon how the job taught them how to use it. And they had the one little screen with the little the green dots and all that crap. So when they got it at home, I had to, nobody used it. So I taught them how to use it and AOL and all that stuff of that nature. And now here we are in the future. So we've worked very hard to become very digitally connected and globally connected, right? Now it appears from the older perspective, the ones that want to take us back to 1850, they want to get rid of computers. And we worked hard to get to here. And now they're controlling everything that you put on your computer. So I put a question in the chat. So when you talk about us telling our stories, can we do that in the tech oligarch controlled social media that we have today? And I know there are a few of us out there that do have social media platforms that are specifically for us, but getting us off of those into that has seemed to be a challenge. I know over at Fanbase, they're having a really hard time bringing us over to that platform. And there's a couple others that are out there as well that is very challenged. And in the past, that has been challenged. What are your thoughts on that one?
Well, that's a great question. I kind of to frame it from, we kind of work backwards for social media and kind of its advent from like early, to the early aughts into where it is now. I think we have to also understand, what someone like a fan base is up against, not only just financially, but technologically, right? The idea like a Facebook, Reddit, these other systems that are what we consider core systems are built. I mean, they're systemically built into everything that we do. So we can, by all means, nothing is stopping us from using fan base. And I've reached out and looked to be better about my own fan base use, right? And so I've been able to ideally be an early adopter and connect in that space. But when we see that other systems are there, it's just as users, we just default back to where we are. That's an attrition thing that everybody's going to have to go through. That's not marketing. That's just these systems are built for you to stay, right? And so that's for the ones that are worth multiple billions of dollars. That's why they do every day, right? Is keep you here, so that way we can monetize your viewing and interactivity. That to say, yes, there's a lot of other systems and services that we can use. I think that shift of us being able to find value and consistency in those systems for all of us, both the users, the owners, those spaces, that's just going to have to be a group project, right? And so it's going to take time, but I think we just all have to agree at the same time that it's worth the time. And so I think it's getting there. We're seeing, as you say, that the systems that we're currently using are absolutely being weaponized against us, but we still use them. So that's a community conversation. As a start. How do we tell our stories in a digital age? I think it's no matter how much we digitize or try to go forward or future, I think there's a piece of us as humans that can only do so much, right? And so it's I don't think we're going to be able to outsource all stories to the digital component. I know we're not, right? So the idea, if we think about it, why would you buy a record when you can speak out loud and any song you could ever want to hear can be played in the next 10 seconds, right? So, but people still
The
buy
absence
records.
of compression. That's why.
Exactly, right? That's one point, right? And so, bookstores are thriving, right? Barnes and Noble is coming back when they were on the brink of default and closing, right? And so where some things are, right? I don't know that we'll ever gather the same way as humans like we did in the malls in the like high 80s and 90s, right? But people still will pay for special occasions to gather as humans, right? When you can pretty much talk to anybody you want in the world for free, why would you want to spend money to only spend time with a handful of each other? And so that's why I say there's still that human connection. You still want to hold a book. You still want to listen to a record. You still want the flaws. That's what makes it feel real. And so I said to say like stories are the same thing. You want to hear stories from the people that have lived those experiences or from those cultures. That's authentic. You can spin up any tale you want on AI, but what's the first thing we say now? It's like that's slop. Things that would be in a, would win in a number one art show 10 years ago would be a best New York bestseller 10 years ago. Like now that's junk. We don't want that.
Right.
And so it's that authenticity that our stories have, particularly Black stories, and especially Black stories. That's the part while we control the narratives in media and influence culture around the world, right? Just a small sliver of people, right? And so that's why I say like we're very much in that same archetype. Like our stories just resonate regardless. So AI can't duplicate that.
And you're absolutely right. During the holiday, if you guys go over to YouTube and actually put in Black stories, you'll get all the Black movies that are out there. I watched probably every Black Christmas movie that was, it's probably Tyler Perry, is coming from all
Right.
over the place. And they were amazing. Not the Hallmark type, not the Lifetime type. They're about us. And so, but if you do go to YouTube and put that in, you got to search for it though, because it ain't going to come up on its own. So you got to do some searching to get it. Dedren, you're amazing. I have always had a problem because I do a lot of designing in Canva and some others. And I was just having this conversation 2 days ago because I use Gamma for my, instead of PowerPoint, I start in Gamma. And I was just telling, and she said something, and I just thought in my head, like, why are all the images in Gamma white? What the hell? And unless you go to the illustrations, you do not get Black images. And you can instructed to do that, but on a norm, that's really where it goes. And I'm always telling my students. So Robin said, I have an entrepreneur program that I've been teaching for 18 years for kids on how to be entrepreneurs. And I'm always trying to get the artists, and there's some amazing young artists out there that don't have art classes, so they don't really see it as an ability or a career, and I'm always trying to get them to illustrate and create those the art for within the sound, what is it, Google and all of those images, so that we can have representation, so we don't have to fight so hard for that.
Right.
Um, and so I agree. I think our young people, because they're very free with their art, and they're expressing their emotions through their art, that's a great way to start. I had to start buying mines off of Etsy in order to and digitally and then upload it into my own system. But it's very frustrating that even when you say diverse, you don't quite get diverse. So you get them with the straight, you get them um, white people impose black people. There you go. So yeah, I find that a challenge for me. Greg and Stephen had questions.
So I grew up in Brooklyn in a predominantly Black and Caribbean environment, and I don't know if I've ever heard the name Dedren. Is there another Dedren in the continental United States?
That is island time for sure. Not too many Dedrons, but no, that's one of my aunts and BI. I think passed that name to my mother, and yeah, I haven't seen a lot. I have not seen a lot.
Have you met one?
I know there's like one or two I've never met. I just know on the internet there's like a couple, but not very many.
Okay.
It's fair. Absolutely.
I need to jump off because I have a 12 o'clock client, but Dr. Snead, I want to tell you, you've been deemed our, what do I always say, guys? You've been deemed our AI Black Futurist
Correspondent.
Better universe.
corres-
Guru.
correspondent.
Guru.
So we
Or-
expect to hear from you. We expect for you to plug in, to send information, make sure we get your word out, and which means that you have to come back.
Fair enough. Good.
All right.
Tune
And
in
you're gonna
again. Come back.
come back, and you're gonna make sure that we have the information for when you come to Los Angeles early enough so we can get it out. I don't
Yeah.
know what venue you're looking for, but there are a number of pretty notable Black tech people here in Los Angeles. Philip Banks, he's incredible. Cassie, uh, um, she's awesome. She's had a tech company way back there when I first met her about 20 years ago. And so she's a female that's pretty rocking out here in the tech world. So if you'd like to meet them all and then maybe connect with them as well.
Oh, absolutely. It sounds like it's a family reunion to be set here for Black Futures Month. So I think that's something I'd love to follow up with you all on. So
Yeah. And Philip, his kids, he got 3 kids. He expanded it all to them, so they've been in that space since they were young, like 7 or 8 years old when I first met the kids. And Cassie's son, he's actually teaching for her. They do animation. They've done an animation for a couple of my programs as well. So
oh,
Cassie
absolutely.
Betts. Yeah, and she knows a slew of them out here. I think they had a conference a couple of years ago, and I sat on a panel. But I'll make that intro through LinkedIn for you,
Okay.
and to the both of them, and then. But yeah, definitely let us know so we can be involved and participate and support.
Absolutely. No, we'll get some work out, get some words and work out, and let's work on building this future together.
All right. So all of you guys go over and follow him on LinkedIn. And please feel free to come back to us at any time. We love it. Send some folks your way. Stephen is handling the Atlanta connection. So we've had some great speakers there. So thank you guys. To everyone else, please come back next week. Bring a friend. Our guest next week is Lynn Gibson. He is the founder and CEO of Jarico, a digital platform for independent creators, artists, similar to Facebook, but with emphasis on Black experience and the Black art form. So that you want to come back. I know on the Business Zone, we had an amazing, I'm going to introduce you to this guy too. He actually was a digital artist, is a digital artist. He was doing websites and realized that he was going to be, he was going to lose his opportunities if he didn't embrace AI. So he actually has an AI school, and he teaches, and then he brings the young people back in as apprentices in order to do jobs that for digital for his clients.
Oh, that's
So His name is Terrence. I'll send that information over to you.
Okay.
And the clip that we did on the Business Zone. I have another podcast. He's incredible as well. Young person, but doing some major things out there. So
Okay.
appreciate all of you guys. All right, guys. See you guys next week. Next Monday is what is it? The official Black Martin Luther King's birthday. Today is his birthday, but here in California, we're celebrating all things Black. I'm not sure about the rest of those states out there, but California, we're celebrating all things Black. So there's some parades and stuff out there. I believe the Sentinel is now doing the Martin Luther King parade. And so they will be out there on Crenshaw and Obama, I believe that's where it's going to be. So check them out. All right, everyone, have a great one. See you all. Have a great weekend. Check out the Business Zone. We're doing a series on being prepared for 2026 and all of its lovely components and parts and all that stuff. All right.
Thank you so much. Have a blessed.
All right. Bye-bye. Thank you. Peace out, guys.
Bye. Thank you.